We go around and do first-year expectations for new head coaches at new places. Today we we start with, or continue on, excuse me, with new Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko. I kick it over to you since the A&M faithful do not like me as much, even though I stuck up for them all year long. What do you think about the first-year expectation for Mike Elko?
I feel like a lot of people are quickly jumping to the conclusion and the expectation that Texas A&M is going to be bad because they lost guys like Evan Stewart, they lost Walter Nolan, they lost LT Overton, Jake Johnson, guys that were blue chippers that were recruited by Jimbo Fisher. I'm pretty bullish on what Texas A&M could be in 2024. I'm excited about Connor Weigman coming back because I think we were just starting to see the beginning of what he could be as a player in college football. Reuben Owens, got a little bit of glimpses of him as a true freshman. He's going to be a really talented back. Their portal haul, outside of Nick Scourton, who I freaking love, going to be a first-round pick in next year's draft, did a really nice job drafting a ton of really talented defensive backs for a team that, or not drafting, getting a bunch of talented defensive backs from the transfer portal. For a team that was as bad as they were in pass defense, they deserve, and he deserves recognition for doing that. For some reason, my barometer for success has kind of come down to talking about what Hugh Freeze did in his first year. I look at a bad roster that Hugh Freeze had last year, had a really good portal haul, and was able to get them in a position where they could play competitively with Alabama, and they were able to go 6-6. I look at this Texas A&M roster, and I look at a more solidified quarterback position and a very high ceiling offensive coordinator in Colin Klein. I think this team can win 7 games. I know that is not a good year for them, as some might say, but 7 wins is doable with the schedule that they have before them.
Yeah. Look, I do think that they've added some really good pieces from the portal. Let's see what a guy like what Des Ricks can do, the DB from Alabama. You talked about God dog it, Purdue. Help me. Why is his name?
Nick Scourton.
Nick Scourton, thank you. You talked about Scourton. You talked about some of the portal additions that they have. I do think, Joe, that they will be a very tough team to play. I think because of the personality of Mike Elko, even like they were at Duke. Joe, look, they might not be as talented in some areas. You don't want to play a Mike Elko team. I think that a realistic take as of right now is an 8-win ball club. I think they can get to 8 wins. Now, you talked about something very crucial here. Okay, when I look at this Texas A&M schedule, okay, moving forward this upcoming year, I don't think it's some people have said for whatever reason that it's easier than they anticipated. I don't necessarily agree with that. Look, you got to go, or you got Notre Dame game 1. I don't think you can win that.
No.
Okay,
there should never be a take that anyone thinks that Texas A&M is going to beat Notre Dame. They're not.
Well, I do think that it will be interesting to see Notre Dame go into the South, into Texas, hot, humid. Joe, it's hot now. It's hot in August. I do. You ain't.
Notre Dame's going to be fine. Notre Dame's going to be fine.
All I'm saying is you ain't experienced that heat. All I was trying to say is you got McNeese, but you go to Florida, okay, on September 14th. Ben Hill Griffin is not an easy place to play as Tennessee. But you got Arkansas, you got Mizzou, you got Mississippi State, LSU, South Carolina. You know who I hadn't read off yet? Alabama or Georgia. Now, you got some good opponents like Missouri. You got some good opponents like LSU, and then you face off with Texas at the end of the year. But you got a lot of winnable games inside the SEC now. And there's a path where you get to 8 wins. And I do think that you've brought in enough talent with Trey Watson, with Des Ricks. You brought in Scooby Williams, the linebacker from Florida. Joe, they've added a lot of really good pieces here. And I could see them getting to the 8 at ceiling 9 wins. Now, I'm going to tell you, if Mike Elko gets them to 8-9 wins It's not necessarily the wins; it's how you get them and how tough you are doing it. I think that this will start to turn some things for him, or that program. Excuse me.
Right. Floor for me is 7. I think that like if
I
you
think
would,
4 or 6.
I'm and again, I'm very bullish. I think that Elko is steady enough of a coach that he's not like Jimbo. He's not gonna completely blow up in games where he's supposed to win and falter. And I just look at the fact that they got a draw of a lot of teams that are trying to really figure out their footing right now, and they can take advantage of that. And I know that Texas A&M is trying to figure out their own footing in their own situation, but getting to play Arkansas with everything that's going on with Sam Pittman, and I know that Florida and having to go and play at Florida, like you said, I believe it's at the Swamp. Still, it is very messy right now what's going on with Billy Napier. South Carolina, things have not been great. And Mississippi State is going to be tough for Levy's first year as he's trying to put that roster together. I think that they got a really, really favorable draw, and they've got a really easy non-con schedule because they deliberately scheduled 2 G5s and an FCS team. That is going to help them. 8 wins is within very realistic striking distance if they can pull out one upset, which Elko has done. Elko has done that as a head coach at Duke. They would have beaten Florida State this year.
Upsets, though?
Clemson. And I was just about to say, they would have beaten Florida State this year if Riley Leonard does not get hurt in that game.
If my uncle didn't have a penis, he'd be my aunt.
They were winning that football game.
I agree. But look, it's different. It's different, though. Even going to Florida State.
I get
going to Auburn, okay? Going to South Carolina in November, coming off of Cocktober. It's not
you say coming off of Cocktober, so outside of
coming off of Cocktober,
it's not in Cocktober, it's outside of Cocktober, which means they're going to beat them.
True. Okay, fine. Missouri, LSU, at Auburn, you got Texas coming into town. Joe, I could see 5 losses.
I don't disagree. Again, I don't disagree with that. They're not beating Notre Dame. They're probably not beating LSU. They're probably not beating Texas.
That's 6. So
they're probably not beating Missouri.
So you get to a place where high ceiling, very low. I say very low floor, but low floor. You don't know how Mike Elko is going to react to being in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium or being at Auburn. I mean, Joe, you could cake in 3 losses.
I'm flipping that. I think it's high floor, low ceiling. Like the reason why I'm saying in a low ceiling in this situation is only a couple more wins than what the floor is. Like there is no realistic chance they get to 10. They're just not. They're not going to get to 10 wins. 9 is even a push. 9 is like a very hard push for them. There's this really small window where I see them being 7 or 8 wins. And I think that is realistically attainable because what he is as a head coach and what he was as a defensive coordinator is a very physical, grind you out type of a coach. And he has, as much as I like Riley Leonard, I think a better offensive situation with Connor Weigman coming back. And I think that Colin Klein.
You're right. With Colin Klein as OC.
We saw what he got out of Will Howard and Avery Johnson. I think that we're going to get a really good rushing attack with Reuben Owens. Here's the only thing I will say.
They got talent now. They got some talent.
The only thing that could seriously bite them in the ass, it's not going to be their defense. It's not going to be their defensive line. It's not going to be
their O-line.
I was going to say it's going to be their receivers. Their receivers stink. They're Anais Smith and Evan Stewart, their top guys are gone. They don't have, I think the next leading returning guy in the receiving room in terms of production is like 500 yards. Might be less than that. Their receiver room stinks.
I mean, I can't necessarily completely disagree.
They don't have any returning production. Now that, yes, do they have highly rated recruits, some of them are still sitting around there? Yes, but none of them gotten onto the field, so we don't know what any of them are capable of.
Is Muhammad still on that roster?
That is a very good question. That is a really good question.
Football roster.
The Texas A&M football website is not cooperating with me.
I don't know. Somebody in the comments will correct us.
Wait to the really quickly to the receiving yardage point. Their top 3 receivers this past year was Anais Smith with only 795 yards.
Yeah, but at the end of the
Today
year,
Walker and Evan Stewart.
Here though, they were having to go to a third string, fourth string quarterback. I mean, Weigman wasn't there. Max Johnson got hurt.
I believe Moose Muhammad is still there.
If Moose Muhammad's still there, that kid can flat out ball. That kid can play. I mean, come on now. Look, I don't disagree. I do think that they feel that they can get there, but they have not won 10 games but twice, okay, since 1998. I look at them as a team that, look, you got to give them this now, Joe. They got a lot of talent, though. I mean, I just
That's
think,
why I'm in on them.
Yeah, I think that you look at a guy like Mike Elko, who's a tough-nosed guy that bring in a lot of talent. They're going to upset somebody they're not supposed to. But I think they're going to lose to somebody they're not supposed to, too. And year one under a head coach in the SEC is not easy.
No.
It's not. And he's got
but that's why I bring up Hugh Freeze, because Hugh Freeze
I think that
pulls out 6 wins
when
he wasn't supposed to.
No, he was supposed to.
No, come on. Everyone was saying Auburn was going to be the worst team, one of the worst teams in the SEC. Everybody said they won 6 games. That's an accomplishment with that. That roster sucked. That roster that they had last year was dog shit. That was a bottom 2 roster in the conference. They had one good football player that's going to go into the NFL. That was DJ James. The rest of that team was dog shit. And they had to go fill gaps in the portal. They had to go fill gaps in recruiting. They're still not there. 6 wins with that roster is a miraculous performance.
I love when you get really excited. They were dog shit. They were dog shit.
They were.
Yeah. I wonder if Georgia and Alabama thought they were dog shit.
They played them close. They weren't supposed to. Brian Harsin would have gotten blown out by 60.
Brian Harsin was a joke. I will tell you this. I don't think they go into Auburn late in the year and pull that and win that game.
Yeah, I think that's a loss. I do.
Yeah. I mean, listen. Things get weird in between the hedges in late November. All right.
Yeah. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.